The two-headed monster, baby. What is it? Back in the Tomlinson days, the Priest Holmes, the Sean Alexander days, I coined a phrase and a strategy called the two-headed monster that we haven't seen rear its ugly head in a while because we haven't really had two running backs that have been Larry Johnson, Priest Holmes, like two Marshall Faulks, two LaDainian Tomlinsons. But this year we do have two running backs that might have this making a comeback, at least on my watch. Whether it be auction, and auction is the best way to do it, or trade. Trade's also a really good way to do it. Draft pick trading can get you into the two-headed monster. We're breaking all that down and more. The Fantasy Football Show, Two-Headed Monster Show, begins right now.
From the FantasyFootballShow.com studios, it's the Fantasy Football Show. Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Smitty is also live whenever news breaks.
Back in the day, your boy was, ostracized in the business because I'd always create this crazy content. I'd come out and say Adrian Peterson's going to be the number one running back in the league before he ever took a snap. And everyone's like, you can't say these things. Your boy started doing bold predictions before almost anybody, if not before anybody. Your boy was doing a grab Tomlinson and another running back was like, how can you get Sean Alexander and LaDainian Tomlinson? We haven't needed to use the two-headed monster for years because it's been kind of a grab bag of sorts at the top 1, 2, 3, 4 overall. And wide receivers have been living in the 1 and 2 spot here and there. Jamar Chase this year is kind of consensus number 1. But I dare to say that Bijan and Gibbs are a better choice at 1 overall. But which one do you take? How about both of them? This is not an easy feat. And in auction it is, because in auction you can go out and you can spend, let's say, $90 on Bijan, $90 on Gibbs, and you can pretty much have about a $20 amount to spend on other players. So you're kind of restricted. You can maybe get a Bo Nix if you're lucky. You'll probably be able to get a Dak. You might get an Igbuka, and we're talking auction right now. You might get something along those lines for your $20 extra. You might have to dig in the dumpsters and find players that I like, but they'll be cheap enough to get and surround. Guys like Tootin, would be a player you would try and grab in this situation. A player like Jaden Blue, you might get lucky and get for a couple bucks or a buck. It all depends on how you get people to spend money. If you're nominating, even though you can't afford it, after you get your two big dogs, if you're nominating all the big dogs and get people spending money and emptying their bank account, then you'll have an easier time getting these guys for like $1. These are the running backs I'd strongly consider drafting as my other running backs on my team when I'm doing the two-headed monster. All these guys are capable of maybe being, $1 to $2 to $3. Even if you were to get lucky to get like 3 or 4 of these guys to go behind Gibbs and Bijan, it'd be fantastic. You could also get Algier if you wanted. You wouldn't be able to get Monty. He would be too expensive, but you could literally like roll through and you're probably going to get 3 or 4 of these guys. So when you think about it, at the end of the day, my running back room, if I do a two-headed monster, it's not that bad. You got Bijan, Gibbs. Of course, that's amazing. But this isn't that bad. You kind of want to roster these guys anyway. And now's your chance to do it. You might even get like a Ford and Sampson combo. Corey Krosky, Merritt, Little Bill. All these guys are fantastic additions to this type of strategy. All right. Oh, and of course, our boy, Rashard Smith. I mean, the list doesn't end here. Even Tajay Spears would be a good addition. These are all very, very solid options. And then in an auction where you've got dollars to spend, you go after wide receivers like Trey Harris, who honestly is a fantastic wide receiver 3. Somebody very deep, a Tesla you could throw on your bench. Love Kyle Williams. Higgins will probably cost a little bit more, but obviously Higgins I would like. Manor and also Restrepo, you could do the combo thing and even get Cam Ward. If you had Cam Ward, Manor, Restrepo, you might be onto some goodness there. Who are a couple wide receivers I think would be fantastic in this kind of build because they could be surprisingly good is this guy right here, Keenan Allen, and also Amari Cooper. These are 2 guys that I think would be good in football terms for a team to grab right now. And fantasy, they might be pretty solid in this type of format as well. Jalen Royals is somebody that I would definitely grab, especially if you can get Mahomes somehow with that $20 remaining. Because again, you're going 90 times 2, and you might have something along the lines of $20 extra to spend if you're doing this. So You could literally just comb through. I really like Thornton. That would be a good addition for this type of team. And again, you're trying to find somebody bigger than this, and you could always, spend some of your $20 on a monster. You could take like Bo Nix and then literally give yourself nothing but dollar players. Or if you can, and not every league does this, you can spend all your money and then have $0 to bid on players. Sometimes it allots $1 per player, and then you're not allowed to spend that final amount of money, which I hate that. I wish you can control your own, destiny. But if you can spend all your money, then you can go get a Bo Nix. You can go get a Mahomes for $20. You could easily do that and then have a three-headed monster, essentially, is what I coined back in the day, is the three-headed monster. The big quarterback, the two running backs, if you can pull it off. Ideally, that's what I would rather do if you don't have a restriction on allotting $1 for every player. So this would be probably my favorite look. And then you could get Royals. Then you could try and get Pacheco. You could try and get Brashard Smith. You can get Hollywood Brown. You could literally surround the entire Chief roster minus, Rice and Worthy and probably Kelsey, and have, that going on. Or if you get extremely lucky, you could grab Bo Nix, and this is probably if you can spend all of your money. You don't have to allot $1 for every player. You probably can get Bo Nix, and then you could probably somehow swing in and get Bryant for pretty much free. You could probably get Mims for free, and then you'd also most likely, depending on how much money's been spent already, but you could almost get like Ingram and Nix and then have nothing but dollar players plus Bryant plus all these Denver receivers, Mims. It's not for a nervous Ned. If you're a nervous Ned, don't try it. This is a crazy, two-head monster is not for the faint of heart. But again, in auction, very easy. I just told you how to do it in auction. In draft pick trading scenarios, you kind of need to be handed the 1.1, or you need to get the 1.2 out of the hat. Randomization needs to hand you one of these two to kind of get this done in draft pick trading senses. Because if you have like the 1.5 and the 1.10, you got to move this up to the 1 and then the 1.1. Then you got to move this up to the 2. It's really hard. So hard to do this unless you get the 1.1 and 1.2. Let's say you get the 1.1 and now you got to use your second rounder, and hopefully you can use your second and fourth rounder and maybe another pick and trade these two to get the 1.2. And then you're down just your second, fourth, and let's say a seventh rounder, but you still have your third rounder. And then you can kind of do what I'm saying. You can grab a JD5 and then get Bijan and Gibbs at 1.1 and 1.2. And then if you have to keep your fourth rounder, so let's say to get the 1.2, you got to give up your second and your third rounder. Well, you're still in a position where you might, and you try and get something else back. Try not to do it completely. 1.2 for these two picks. You want to get it, if you can, a fourth rounder. If you can't, maybe a fifth rounder, whatever the case may be. So now you got 2 5s. You got your 3's gone, your 2's gone. You got your 4, but you got that second 5. So now you can still draft a potential. I mean, JD5 could fall there. You could get Hurts. You could get Burrow. Let's just say it's Burrow with this fourth rounder. So Burrow, and you've got two 5s. I mean, you almost couldn't do a better job in draft pick trading by getting this 1.2. But again, you have to get that 1.1, or you get the 1.2 and you have to trade for the 1.1. But without that initial kickstart, it's really hard. But you can make a better team because you're giving up a lot less. You get your fifth rounder, your sixth rounder, your seventh rounder, your eighth rounder. In this case, you got 2 5s. You can really build a better team. Getting the two-headed monster in draft pick trading will have your team looking like something along the lines of this, where you got Bijan, you got Burrow, you got Hendy and Hunter. A much better approach. Draft pick trading versus auction. It's easier to get it in auction no matter what, because you can take control of your destiny and spend $90 on each player. You can just go boom, boom, doesn't matter what draft slot you have, because you don't have to worry about that. But you are building a better team if you're handed the 1.1, 1.2 and deploy this. Look at the squad. If you can draft pick trade and you don't try this in one of your leagues, you're really missing out on some fun, number one, and number two, a maybe dominant team that could blow everybody out of the water. Even if you trade your second and third rounder for the 1.2 and a fifth rounder or a sixth rounder. Let's just say they say sorry and they play hardball with you and you literally have to take a 6 and the 1.2 for your second and third. I still do it. In Dynasty, I still like it. Redraft, I like it. Redraft, you're less committed to it if it doesn't work. But Dynasty, I mean, who doesn't love this team in Dynasty? I love it. I'll take it. 2, please. And if you wanted to acquire this in terms of like trading, you could do that too after the draft, you know? Like, let's say you don't have Jahmyr Gibbs. Let's take Jahmyr Gibbs off the board. You have Bijan. You drafted Bijan. I have a player like Josh Jacobs who I got in like round 3, 4, even though Smitty says don't take him in round 3. And you have a player like AJB, and the person that has Jahmyr Gibbs says, man, I didn't get the receivers I want. You're like, well, I'll give you Jacobs and I'll give you AJB. You give me Gibbs and something else that I like. Not that hard to trade into the two-headed monster that way, either if the person that has Gibbs is willing to trade. The restrictor is that maybe the Gibbs owner is like, I'm not trading him. Sorry, he's my favorite player. Or vice versa, if you have Gibbs and you're trying to go get Bijan. I would say the least likely to happen is this one, but the process would not be hard. The idea in coming up with a concept that could get it done is not hard, but getting somebody to be the vulnerable owner is hard. Auction, you can do it easily whenever you want. Draft pick trading, you need to have the 1 or the 2 overall. And then trading, you need to have the right trade partner. But go try the two-headed monster if you haven't done so. Don't forget to get on over to my Patreon for 24/7, 365 one-on-one advice. $10 a month, cancel anytime. It's a live chat group. It's just a live chat group, 365, 24/7. Just hanging out, talking football. And don't forget, I'm live Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern, every single Monday through Friday. Additionally, live whenever big news breaks. And I'm also live at midnight Eastern, almost every single night.